Welcome to St Martin in the Fields and to today's great sacred music. Today we are celebrating the poetry and life of William Blake. William Blake lived from 1757 to 1827 and is considered now to be one of the earliest and most original of the Romantic poets. But in his lifetime, he was very much overlooked and dismissed as mad, though some did see him as a visionary who was ahead of his time. I mean the word visionary here quite literally too, as Blake claimed he regularly had supernatural sightings, such as trees filled with angels with bright angelic wings bespangling every bough like stars. He wrote to his patron William Hayley in 1802, "I am under the direction of messengers from heaven daily and nightly." And in the piece we just sang by Judith Weir, "My Guardian Angel," Blake depicts an angel standing over us at our birth and guiding us throughout our lives. Perhaps it was even one of the many angels Blake said he saw in his lifetime. Weir's arrangement is based off a short Alleluia that can be performed by an audience, so you guys have got off lightly today, whilst the choir weaves 4 parts around it. It is our tradition here at Great Sacred Music to kick things off with a hymn, and lucky for us, a fair few of William Blake's writings have been made into hymns for us all to sing raucously together. To Mercy, Pity, Peace and Love, also known as The Divine Image, is a poem from Blake's Songs of Innocence, published in 1789. Luckily for William Blake, and for us, the text fit really well to the German Christmas carol Lobt Gott, with melody by Nicholas Hermann and harmony by J.S. Bach. So we remain seated as the voices stand to lead us. Our next piece, Songs in the Night by Victor Johnson, is actually a setting of adapted text by both William Blake and Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, so you're getting 2 for the price of 1 on this one. Victor Johnson is an award-winning composer and arranger from Dallas, and in an interview he recently gave, said his musical tastes range from Baroque and French organ music to classic rock and gospel. As a child, he loved Nirvana and Green Day, so I'll let you decide for yourself whether you think you can hear any of these genres in his music. William Blake's contribution comes from his poem Night, mainly the first stanza where we have a lot of typically romantic nature in imagery about the beauty of the moon. After that, you'll hear The Tiger, written by William Blake a few years after Night, which was published as part of his Songs of Experience collection in 1794. The whole poem is made up entirely of questions about creation, about God, and one of religion's most difficult questions: why does God allow evil to exist? Blake does this by asking how God could make an innocent animal such as a lamb, and then also make something with the power to destruct like a tiger. He frames all of this rhetorically, so he never actually proffers an answer to the question himself, instead encouraging us to come up with our own reasoning. Today we will be singing the version by René Clausen, an American composer and conductor, professor of music at Concordia College in Moorhead, Minnesota. So then after that, we're going to do a bit of swappage. That's the technical term in concert programming when we swap two pieces around. So we're actually going to have The Lamb next. So as I've already mentioned that the tiger compares the imagery of the tiger and the lamb, it seems only fitting that we should sing a setting of William Blake's The Lamb, a poem which comes from the Songs of Innocence collection again. The lamb here is a symbol for Christ, and in the poem, a child is addressing a lamb, wondering how it came to exist, before concluding that all existence comes from God himself. Blake himself set the poem to music, but no copies of this are actually known to have survived. Instead, today you get to hear Taverner's setting of the poem, a minimalist version for unaccompanied choir. It was written in 1982 as a present for his 3-year-old nephew, apparently done entirely in one car journey from South Devon to London. Taverner said that the piece came to him fully grown, and all I had to do was write it down. Well, if only we could all do that. So now let's hear those 3 pieces. That's Songs in the Night by Victor Johnson, The Tiger, and then finally The Lamb by John Taverner.
began to beat, and when thy heart 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 began to beat, chain of Felix was when the star
So if we have a stalwart of English poetry like William Blake, we also have to pair him up with a stalwart of English choral music, John Rutter. Blake's Lullaby, which we are about to sing, is a very recent composition of Rutter's, written in 2022 in aid of Macmillan Cancer Support. William Blake called this poem a cradle song, and with its AABB rhyming scheme, it's practically begging to be set to music right from the start. It's a lullaby to the infant Jesus, highlighting a mother's love for her baby. So the subject also really lends itself to being used as a Christmas carol, something we know Rutter to be particularly good at. Blake also makes the words themselves inherently musical by using alliteration, in particular the S sound to give the feeling of shushing a baby calmly or the sway of a child being rocked. William Blake published 139 poems in his lifetime, though it's very likely that he actually wrote many more than this that were never published. He actually made his main living as an illustrator and was teaching at the Royal College of Art, where he was the head of the illustration department. If you get a chance, I would highly recommend looking up some of the beautiful illustrations that he himself made for various of his collections of poems. The Tiger, for example, which we just sang, has a small, colourful format implying a children's book, whereas the Cradle Song illustration shows how verse and image can work together to express the importance that Blake put on how nature can reveal aspects of the divine. So let's hear it now then, Blake's Lullaby by John Rutter. Now it's your turn to sing again, with probably the most well-known hymn ever, and the title piece of our Great Sacred Music today. You may also know it as Jerusalem, a word that is also seen as synonymous with heaven. Well, in which case, Blake definitely thinks England has some good heavenly attributes. We have our mountains green and our pleasant pastures, so tick and tick. But then the poem takes a bit of a turn. It was known that William Blake was critical of the monarchy, but he was also very critical of the industrial scientific age he lived in. Perhaps not totally surprising given the huge amounts of social and political change he lived through, such as the American and French revolutions. So when we hear about the dark satanic mills and then the declaration, "I will not cease from mental fight," we're asked to question the morality of the horrible working conditions of Britain's industrial age factories, but also encouraged to keep remembering our British values in the face of change. We remain seated as the voices stand, but I expect you all to be singing this one as though we're filling Wembley Arena. We've almost come to the end of Great Sacred Music for today. On your way out, there is an opportunity for you to donate, which helps us to continue to develop our music programme at St Martin's. If you haven't got cash, don't panic. You can find other ways to give on the back of your sheet. Please join us again next week for Great Sacred Music at the same time in the same place. And if you're really super keen, you can listen to this back on catch-up on our streaming platform, stmartins.digital. You could also join us on Sundays for our sister programme, which is Choral Classics at 3:15 p.m. And if that isn't enough, on the back of your sheet, you can also find out about some of the other concerts that the Voices get up to as well. Our final piece today is Bainton's setting of I Love the Jocund Dance. This poem is from a larger volume of poems entitled Poetical Sketches, using pastoral imagery of echoing hills, oaken trees, and laughing vales, but ultimately stating that all these pale in insignificance to the love of Kitty, making this a stereotypical love poem, which is surprisingly unstereotypical for Blake to be writing about. Perhaps the Kitty in this poem refers to his wife Catherine, who had steadfastly worked alongside him his whole life. There is a story that on his last day on earth, he set aside his illustrations and looked upon his wife, crying out, "Keep just as you are. I will draw your portrait, for you have ever been an angel to me," and feverishly drew her before downing his tools for the last time. So we started today with Blake's guardian angel at his birth, and we finish here with his wife as his guardian angel at his death. So to finish, this is Edgar Bainton's I Love the Jocund Dance. Thank you for joining us today.